All right, welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking about communication styles.
Oh, fun.
And to do that, we're going to be looking at the book Surrounded by Idiots by Thomas Erikson.
Oh, I love that book.
Now, have you heard of the four temperaments?
Oh, yeah, way back to Hippocrates.
Well, this book takes that idea and gives it a modern spin.
Yeah.
And it basically categorizes people into these four behavior types: red, yellow, green, and blue.
Okay.
Each with their own kind of quirks and communication styles. And so the idea is that understanding these types can drastically improve,
how you
communicate with people.
Then your relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's dive in and meet these so-called idiots, shall we?
Okay, let's do it.
So Erikson starts with the reds.
Okay.
He really calls them the alphas.
Right.
They're the driven, action-oriented, get-it-done types.
Yeah, those are the people that you want to, get stuff done, for sure.
Yeah, so, think of the kind of person who sees a problem and just jumps in to solve it.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
They just have to fix it.
Yes.
And the book has this great anecdote about the author's neighbor named Pele, who suddenly took up gardening.
Oh.
And became an expert almost overnight.
Wow. Impressive.
And it turned out that he just wanted to, outdo the author's own garden.
Oh, so it's all about competition.
Yeah.
They need to be the best.
Yeah, that competitive spirit.
I love that, though.
You could practically see that.
The red temperament there, flaring up.
So have you ever worked with somebody who's like this?
Oh, yeah.
A total red.
All the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's the, really insightful part here.
Okay.
It's not just a funny story, right?
Right.
It's showing that reds are often motivated by competition, even if it's something they have to create themselves.
Right.
And for the listener out there, that means understanding that a red colleague might not be intentionally aggressive, but they just thrive on that challenge.
Yeah. So instead of getting upset, you could kind of reframe it as a game, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you play to that competitive spirit?
Yeah.
But also don't get steamrolled.
Without getting run over.
Yeah.
Because they will run you over.
So Erikson talks about the CEO, Bjorn, and I don't know how to pronounce it.
Bjorn,
okay.
It's a very Swedish name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bjorn, the CEO, was known for being incredibly efficient.
Okay.
And he would schedule meetings back to back.
Yeah.
No wasted time.
No time for chit-chat.
Yeah.
Let's go,
Yeah, so that also meant that he had zero patience for anything slow-paced.
Right.
Oh, I know those types.
You can see it.
They make decisions really fast.
Yes.
But sometimes without all the information.
Yeah, they're 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
And you're still on step 1,
It's like they're always hitting fast forward on life.
Yes, exactly.
So what are the potential pitfalls there?
Well, their blunt honesty can be refreshing, but it can also come across as very harsh.
Yes.
And then their tendency to just break rules all in the name of efficiency.
Right, because rules are just slowing them down.
Yeah, they're get out of my way.
Yeah, well, it doesn't always go well.
Not always, no.
So knowing this, how do we communicate effectively with a red?
Well, one tip that Erikson gives is to kind of mirror their directness.
Okay.
Be clear, concise, and focus on the outcome. Don't waste their time with a lot of small talk or, beating around the bush. Just get to the point.
So we've got the reds. They're action-oriented.
Yes.
Decisive, sometimes a bit intense.
A little.
Now let's talk about the yellows.
Okay.
The social butterflies.
Oh, fun.
So they're the ones that bring the energy and the optimism.
Yeah.
And they always seem to know everyone in the room.
Yes. The life of the party.
Yeah.
Always.
And so I think it's interesting because if you've heard of DISC assessments, yellows are kind of like the influencer type.
Yes. But there's a difference.
But Erikson is suggesting that there's a deeper need that's driving them.
Right.
It's not just about being social.
Okay.
But it's a core need for approval and positive reinforcement.
So they need to feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where that contagious enthusiasm comes from.
Right.
And it explains why sometimes they can seem a little scattered.
Oh, yeah. All over the place.
Yeah, because they're trying to please everyone.
Yeah.
Keep the good vibes flowing.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just running on that need.
To be liked.
Yeah, to keep everybody happy.
Yeah.
So Erikson talks about his sister, Marita.
Oh.
Who, even when it was pouring rain on a family vacation, would just say, oh, this is great for the farmers.
Oh, I love
that unyielding optimism.
It's classic yellow.
Classic yellow.
Yes.
Does that remind you of anybody?
Oh, yeah, tons of people, especially like my best friend growing up, like total yellow energy. Yeah. He got into a fender bender once in his like beloved Alfa Romeo.
Okay.
And you know what? He was more concerned about making sure that the other driver was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's the yellow energy, like always finding the positive.
So that's the takeaway for the listener, I guess, is that you got to recognize that they need a lot of validation.
Yes, much more than other types.
Okay. And simple acknowledgments can go a long way.
Yeah, really keep them motivated.
So while reds are motivated by competition, yellows are fueled by connection.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But are there any downsides to all that sunshine?
Well, of course. Remember their need for approval. It can sometimes lead to like overpromising or exaggerating just to keep everyone happy.
Yeah.
And they can also have like trouble with time management, like deadlines, more like suggestions.
Right. They're very loosey-goosey.
In their world, yeah.
So if you're working with a yellow on a project, you might have to be the one to keep them on track.
Gently, yeah. Or not so gently, sometimes.
And also their enthusiasm sometimes, like, blocks their listening.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because they're so focused on what they're saying and being heard.
Right, so they miss crucial details or feedback.
Absolutely.
It's not that they're not intelligent. It's just their brain is wired for that outward focus.
It's outward.
Yeah, you just have to adjust your communication style.
That's the key.
Yeah.
It's not about judging. It's about understanding them so you can work together.
So we've got the action-oriented reds.
Yes.
We've got the sunshine-powered yellows.
Okay.
Now, what happens if you need somebody a little bit more grounded?
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, more stable.
That's where the greens come in.
And they're the calm, steady collaborators.
Yeah.
You know, prioritizing harmony and stable relationships above all else.
They're the glue. Yeah. They hold the team together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this can also mean that they're very averse to change.
Oh, yeah.
And conflict.
Big time.
So the book gives an example of Erikson's mother, who was a classic green.
Right.
And even small changes, like rearranging the furniture.
Oh, wow.
Would send her into a tailspin.
Okay.
That resistance to change is something to keep in mind when working with greens.
Yeah, because it's not that they're against progress, but they just really thrive on predictability.
Yeah.
You know.
And routine.
Yeah. They like things the way they are.
And remember those pressure cooker temperaments that we talked about before?
Right.
With greens, it's particularly relevant.
Okay.
You might notice that if they become unusually quiet or withdrawn, it could be a sign that they're internalizing stress.
Okay.
Rather than expressing it.
So they hold it in.
Yeah.
Right.
So how do you communicate with somebody who's so conflict avoidant?
Well, Erikson says focus on building trust.
Okay.
Emphasize the impact on the team.
Okay.
And then phrase your feedback collaboratively, right? Don't be confrontational.
So, for example, instead of saying, you really messed up that report.
Right, which is like a very red thing to say.
Yeah.
You would never say that to a green.
You would say something like, hey, I noticed some discrepancies in the report.
Yeah.
Let's work together to make sure everything's accurate.
Yeah.
So you're bringing them in.
That's it.
You're saying, we're a team.
It's collaborative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got reds, we've got yellows, we've got greens.
Okay.
Now we're moving into the realm of logic and precision.
Right.
Blues.
Ah, my people.
Yeah. So Erikson describes them as the detail-oriented analytical types.
Yes.
Always seeking accuracy.
Very precise.
Yeah, they're the ones that are double-checking every calculation.
Yeah.
Reading the fine print.
Yes, the data detectives.
They thrive on facts, figures, and logic.
All of it.
And they're not swayed by emotions.
No.
Or gut feelings.
Just the facts.
And the book talks about how a friend of the author's would double-check Excel formulas with a calculator.
I love that.
Just to be sure.
Oh, amazing.
That is pure blue.
Pure blue.
Meticulousness.
Yeah.
So what have your experiences with blues been like?
Well, you know, they're great at spotting errors that everyone else misses.
Right.
Which is incredibly valuable.
Right.
But I've also seen how they get so caught up in the detail.
Oh, yeah. Analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And then they struggle to see the bigger picture.
Yeah. They miss the forest for the trees.
Yeah. Yeah. And they can't make decisions very quickly.
Not quickly, no.
And Erikson talks about how his father was a blue.
Okay.
And he meticulously measured the volume of gravel
that
was delivered for his driveway.
Okay.
Just to make sure that they weren't overcharged.
Oh, I love that.
That analytical mindset.
That's amazing.
Can be both a blessing and a curse.
It can, yes.
So how do you communicate effectively with someone who lives in this world of facts and figures?
Well, the key here is to be prepared, organized, and above all, logical.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Provide evidence to support your points.
Right.
Don't try to win them over with like emotional appeals or generalizations.
Right.
Just stick to the facts.
Yeah, so if you're pitching an idea to a blue, you better come armed with charts and graphs.
Charts, graphs, data.
Yeah.
The whole 9 yards.
No hand-waving or gut feelings allowed.
No. You got to prove it.
You got to prove it.
Yeah.
So you need to speak their language.
And that's really the overarching theme, I think, of the book, right?
Right.
It's not about judging these types. It's about understanding them.
Yeah.
So you can work together.
It's about recognizing that we're all wired differently.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's what makes life interesting.
In fact, that's what makes life interesting.
Yes.
Right. We don't want to live in a world
it would be so boring.
where everybody's the same.
Ugh, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Everyone's the same color.
But learning to navigate those differences can really be a game changer.
It can, yes.
Both personally and professionally.
Absolutely.
So that's what makes Erikson's work so valuable, right?
Yeah.
He's taking this complex concept of communication and human behavior.
Right.
And he's giving you practical tools to decipher it all.
Who doesn't need a little help with communication?
Right.
You know?
So we've laid the groundwork here, meeting the reds, yellows, greens, and blues.
Right.
But now we're going to get into the how.
Okay.
How do you actually apply this knowledge
in
real life situations?
The rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we'll be diving into next.
Can't wait. Let's do it. All right. All right. We've been talking about how each color communicates.
Right.
But what about when they're not even speaking?
Oh, interesting.
So you can tell what someone's color might be just by watching them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Erikson says that each color also has its own unique body language.
You mean like reds will stand a certain way?
Yeah.
That seems almost too good to be true.
It's not about being a mind reader or anything.
Right.
But just kind of picking up on these subtle cues
Right.
that you might not notice.
Yeah.
So for instance, think back to the reds, right?
Right.
They're all about taking charge.
Yeah.
Erikson actually describes their body language as this, commanding presence.
Okay.
They might stand a bit further away.
Okay.
Have a firm handshake.
Uh-huh.
Make really intense eye contact.
Yeah, it's like they're projecting authority before they even say anything.
Exactly.
I've definitely felt that.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily intentional,
Right.
It's just their natural way of being in the world, even their gestures.
Yeah.
They may not be as expressive as a yellow,
Okay.
but they're very purposeful.
Okay.
They might, point at you to emphasize a point,
Yeah.
It's all about control
Right.
and directness.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you're in a meeting with somebody and they have that kind of red body language, to be prepared
exactly.
for direct communication
Got it.
decisions.
No nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now yellows, completely different.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Total opposite.
So what are they doing?
Well, they're really animated,
Okay.
expressive, using a lot of hand gestures.
Yeah.
And their body language is very open.
Okay.
And inviting. I think big smiles, lots of eye contact.
Right. They want to create that warmth.
Yeah, they want you to feel that enthusiasm.
Right. It's like, come on in.
Yeah, let's be friends. We're going to have a good time. Exactly. And it's not just about being friendly either.
Right.
It plays into their need for approval.
Right.
Yeah. So that open body language, it can be a way to gauge other people's reactions,
Right. They want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
They want to make sure everyone's having fun.
Keep that energy up.
Exactly. It's like they're bringing the sunshine with them.
Okay. So while a red might stand with their arms crossed, looking stoic and in charge,
right,
a yellow is flitting around the room,
yes,
making sure everybody's happy.
And energized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk about the greens.
All right, so their body language is more about creating a sense of calm, stability, right? They have a softer, more approachable presence.
I'm picturing somebody offering a cup of tea.
Yes.
And a warm smile.
That's exactly it.
Just trying to make sure everybody feels good.
Yeah, they just want to make you feel comfortable.
At ease.
And at ease, exactly.
Yeah.
And it really speaks to that green desire for harmony,
right?
Yeah.
Their body language is often very gentle, with softer gestures
and
a calming tone of voice.
Okay.
They're not about commanding attention.
Right.
But more about fostering that sense of connection.
Right, yeah.
And trust.
Okay, so they're creating that space where everybody can relax.
Yeah, be themselves.
Be themselves.
Exactly.
So reds are making a statement.
Yeah.
Yellows are bringing the party.
Yes.
Greens are like, everybody just chill.
Exactly. And this can be really valuable in like team settings or in situations where you really need to build consensus, you know?
Yeah, they help smooth things over.
They smooth things over.
Yeah.
They're the ones that keep things running smoothly.
Now, what about blues?
Blues are a little more subtle.
Okay.
They tend to be a little more reserved.
Okay.
You might notice that they keep a little bit of distance.
Okay.
Maybe avoid like too much eye contact. You know, they value composure and control.
So while a yellow might be all about touchy-feely, hug it out.
Yeah, exactly.
The blue is like, give me my space.
Yeah, just back up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that they're unfriendly, they just like their personal space.
Yeah, and remember, they're all about logic and order.
Right.
And that can extend to their kind of physical space, too.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow, this is making me think about all the meetings I've been in.
I know, right?
Like, there's this whole other level of communication going on.
And a whole other language.
I wasn't even aware of.
And that's why Erikson really emphasizes it, you know?
Right.
He wants to give you these tools.
Yeah.
So you can better understand people.
Right.
And you can combine these nonverbal cues with everything else that we've learned about communication styles.
Right.
To really give you an edge in interacting with them.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like you're watching a foreign film with subtitles.
I love that, yes.
Right. And suddenly you get it.
You understand all the nuances.
You can see what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about how they communicate body language. Now, how does all this translate into something practical, like giving feedback?
Oh, that's a great question.
Because everybody struggles with that.
Yeah.
Giving and receiving it.
Yes, we all do.
So Erikson actually has a whole chapter on feedback.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's super helpful.
Okay.
Because he argues that, you know, understanding these color types can completely change how you approach giving and receiving criticism.
Right, because sometimes, even if you have good intentions, feedback can really backfire.
Absolutely.
If it's not delivered in the right way.
Yes. And, you know, some critics argue that this whole model is too simplistic.
Okay.
Right, that people are more complex than just 4 colors.
Right.
But I think even if it's not perfect, it still gives us a really good place to start.
To kind of understand the why behind those reactions.
Right. Like, why does one person shut down?
Yeah.
Why does another person get defensive?
Exactly.
So let's get specific.
Okay, let's do it.
If I need to give feedback to a red, what's the best approach?
Well, remember, they're all about efficiency and results.
Right.
So be direct, concise, focus on concrete examples of their behavior, no sugarcoating.
Short, sweet, to the point.
Exactly. And avoid, like, dwelling on emotions or making it personal. Instead, really focus on like the actions, what needs to be done to improve.
Okay, so instead of saying, I feel like you're not pulling your weight.
Right, don't say that.
You would say something like, I noticed that these deadlines were missed.
Perfect.
What can we do to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Exactly. You're speaking their language.
Quick action-oriented.
Yes, focused on solutions.
Yeah, okay.
Now with yellows, completely different ballgame. You got to remember, they thrive on positivity, approval. So when you're giving feedback, it's really crucial to balance any criticism with lots of praise and reassurance.
So a little sugarcoating might be in order?
A little bit, but it's more than just sugarcoating, right?
Okay.
It's about recognizing their need for validation and framing it in a way that encourages growth.
Okay.
You know?
Okay, so instead of saying your presentation was all over the place.
Yeah, don't do that.
You might say, I love your energy and enthusiasm.
Yes.
However, the structure could be tightened up a bit.
Perfect.
To make your points more impactful.
Exactly. You're acknowledging their strengths and gently guiding them.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, green's all about harmony. Avoiding conflict. So when giving them feedback, you got to be really gentle. Empathetic. Create that safe space for them to process.
So you're not going to march in there guns blazing.
No, no, no.
You could be like, hey, how you doing?
It's a gentle nudge.
Yeah.
in the right direction.
Okay.
Focus on building trust.
Okay.
And emphasizing how the feedback can benefit the team or the relationship. Right. Choose your words very carefully.
Yeah.
Avoid anything that could be perceived as a personal attack.
So instead of saying you need to be more assertive,
right,
you would say, I've noticed that you sometimes hesitate.
Yes, perfect.
To share your ideas.
Good.
And I think your perspective is valuable.
Yes.
And I'd love to hear more from you.
Exactly. You're encouraging them to step outside their comfort zone without triggering that fear of conflict.
Okay, now finally, blues.
Okay, so blues crave logic and accuracy.
Data.
So be specific.
Yeah.
Detailed. Back up your points with evidence.
Data, beta.
Data, exactly. Don't make any generalizations.
Emotional.
Appeals. Present it clearly.
Okay.
Logically.
So it's like you're presenting a case in court.
Yes.
With evidence. You need the evidence.
Yeah, the proof. And that highlights the importance of tailoring your approach.
To each type.
Yeah.
You wouldn't use the same strategy to convince, like, a scientist as you would a poet.
It's about speaking their language.
It is.
Making them feel heard and understood.
And that can make all the difference
in
how they receive it.
Okay.
You know?
So it's not just about giving feedback.
Right.
It's about receiving it, too.
Yes, and each color has its own way of responding to criticism.
A red might go right into problem-solving mode.
Yes, immediately.
Yeah.
A green might need time to process and reflect before they even respond.
Okay.
Right.
And knowing this can help avoid misunderstandings.
Absolutely.
And conflicts.
Yes. It's like you have this whole toolkit of strategies.
Yeah. And you can choose which tool is best for that interaction.
Okay, so we've covered how they communicate, body language, feedback. What other insights did Erikson offer?
Well, he dives into this really fascinating scenario that really illustrates the importance of diversity. And it's a team-building exercise where groups are divided by color and then chaos ensues.
So it's like those reality TV shows where they put all those crazy people together.
Exactly, yeah. So in this exercise, the red group, they quickly descend into arguments, each person vying for control.
Classic red.
Classic red, right. Yeah. Now the yellow group, they're all smiles, excitement, but they struggle to stay focused and get the task done.
All fun and games.
All fun and games.
Not very productive.
Not always the most productive, no.
What about the greens?
Okay, so the greens, they focus on creating a harmonious environment. Right.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But then their aversion to conflict hinders their ability to, like, make decisions or challenge each other's ideas.
They're playing it safe.
Too safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the blues?
So the blues meticulously analyze the tasks. They gather all the information, but they get so bogged down in the details that they can't see the big picture, and they miss the deadlines.
You know, in the weeds.
Yeah, they're in the weeds.
Yeah.
So each group, in its own way, struggles to succeed because they don't have that diversity. They don't have that balance of strengths that comes from having different types working together.
So diversity is key.
Diversity is key.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
If you want to go fast,
go
alone.
If you want to go far,
go together.
Go together. Exactly.
So it's not just about going far.
Right.
It's about reaching your full potential. Your full potential.
Each color kind of has their own trap.
They do. They all have their pitfalls.
Yeah, reds might bulldoze their way through. Yellows, fun, overfunction.
Exactly.
Greens, analysis paralysis. Blues, too much harmony.
Too much harmony, yeah.
So it's not that anyone is better or worse.
Right.
It's that they all bring their own strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly. And by combining them, you create a synergy that wouldn't be possible otherwise.
It's about recognizing that we all have blind spots.
Absolutely. We all do.
Yeah. And so that's where those different perspectives.
That's where you need that diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is making me think of, like, times that I've butted heads with colleagues.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe if I'd understood their color, I would have approached the situation differently.
You could found that common ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead, you're getting frustrated.
Right.
Like, used it as an opportunity.
Absolutely. And that's what I think. Yeah.
Is so powerful about this book.
Yeah.
You know, it's about moving beyond that judgment.
Right.
And embracing understanding.
So instead of saying, like, this person's difficult or stubborn, you can like see it through a different lens.
Through a different lens, exactly.
Like you have a secret decoder ring.
I love that analogy.
Right.
Yeah.
And you start to see the patterns, the motivations.
What's driving them.
Yeah, the underlying needs that drive people's actions.
Yeah.
And so once you understand that, then you can communicate in a way that resonates with them.
Absolutely. It's not just about, like, getting along with people. It's about, like, unlocking their potential.
Oh.
You know, by understanding their color, you can motivate them, you can inspire them, help them grow in ways that you couldn't before.
Wow. This has been, like, such an eye-opener.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It's like you've given me a whole new toolkit.
For understanding people and navigating those interpersonal dynamics.
Yeah, exactly.
But I have to ask, is it really that simple?
Right.
Can we just assign everybody a color?
Well, you know, it's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that this is just a model.
Right.
It's a simplification of complex human behavior.
Right.
People aren't always going to fit neatly
into
one category or another.
So don't get too hung up on the labels.
Exactly. Yeah. It's more about understanding, like, the underlying principles.
Okay.
And using them as a guide.
Right.
You might encounter someone who has traits of multiple colors.
Right.
Or their behavior might change.
Right.
Depending on the situation.
Okay.
Right. The key is to be flexible.
Yeah.
And adaptable.
So it's not about putting people in boxes. It's about having that framework to understand them.
To understand them,
And then adjust your communication.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we all have our own unique ways of seeing the world.
Yeah.
And that those differences can be a source of strength.
Right.
Rather than conflict.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, this deep dive has given me so much to think about.
I'm glad.
Yeah. And, like, I'm already starting to see people.
Oh, yeah.
In a new light.
That's great.
Yeah, paying attention to their communication style, body language.
Yeah.
It's like, I've been given a superpower.
It is a superpower.
Yeah.
And it's a skill you can keep developing over time.
Right.
The more you practice, the better you'll get.
Yeah.
At reading people,
Yeah.
understanding their motivations, and communicating in a way that builds trust.
Right.
You know?
Like you're learning a whole new language.
The language of connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've reached the end of our
Yeah.
deep dive.
Sad to see it go.
I know, me too, but hopefully our listeners have gained some valuable insights here and are feeling inspired to put this knowledge into practice.
Yeah.
So remember, it's not about changing who you are.
Right.
But becoming more aware.
You're aware,
of how you communicate and how your behavior might be impacting others.
Exactly.
And as you go out into the world, keep those color types in mind.
You might be surprised.
You might be surprised.
At what you discover.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. That team building exercise is, it really shows that diversity is key.
Yeah, it's like if you want to go fast, go alone.
But if you want to go far,
go together.
Go together.
And it's not just about going far.
Yeah.
It's about reaching your full potential.
Yeah. You're not going to get there on your own.
So each color type, when left to their own devices, has a tendency to, like, fall into certain traps.
They do. They each have their pitfalls.
So, like, the reds might bulldoze their way through, ignoring everybody else.
Right. Not listening.
Yellows, fun over function.
Yeah. Prioritize the party.
Greens get stuck in analysis paralysis.
Yes. Afraid to make a decision.
And blues might prioritize harmony over, like, healthy debate.
Yeah. Just keep everyone happy. No conflict.
Yeah. So it's not that any one type is better or worse.
Right.
It's that
they each bring their own.
Yeah, they each bring something to the table.
Their own strengths and weaknesses.
And you combine those strategically.
Right.
And you get this synergy.
You got it.
That wouldn't be possible otherwise.
We need each other.
Yeah, and it's about recognizing that we all have those blind spots.
Yeah, we all do.
And that's where the diverse perspectives come in.
Exactly, because someone with a different color type might see something you miss, challenge your assumptions, and that could lead to a better outcome.
Yeah, this is making me think about times I've, like, butted heads with colleagues.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
And if I had understood their color type, I could have, like, approached it differently.
Yeah. Maybe found some common ground.
Yeah, instead of getting frustrated.
Yeah.
I could have used that knowledge to like build a more productive relationship.
Yeah, I think that's really what Erikson is trying to teach us.
Yeah.
It's to move beyond that judgment.
Okay.
And embrace the understanding.
So it's like instead of just labeling someone as difficult or stubborn,
right,
you can start to see their behavior through a different lens.
Through a different lens, yeah.
It's like you have this secret decoder ring.
I love that.
For, like, human behavior.
Yeah.
You start to see the patterns.
The motivation.
Motivations, like what's driving them.
The why behind the what.
Yeah. And once you understand that,
right,
you can start to communicate with them on a deeper level.
Exactly. And it's not just about getting along with people. It's about, like, unlocking their potential.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can motivate them. Right. You can inspire them. Help them grow in ways you couldn't before.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
I know, right?
Yeah, I feel like I've been given this whole new toolkit.
It's powerful stuff.
Yeah, for understanding people. But is it really that simple?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good question.
Can we just assign everybody a color?
Well, it's important to remember this is just a model.
Okay.
A simplification of really complex human behavior.
Right.
People aren't always going to fit neatly into these categories.
Okay, so we shouldn't get too hung up on the labels.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's more about understanding the principles behind it and using them as a guide.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
You might find someone who has traits of multiple colors.
Right, they're a mix.
Yeah, or their behavior might change depending on the situation.
Right.
The key is to stay flexible and adaptable.
Okay, so it's not about putting people in boxes.
No.
It's about having that framework to understand them.
Yeah.
And adjust how you communicate with them.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we all have our own way of seeing the world.
Right.
And those differences can be a source of strength, not conflict.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
This has given me so much to think about.
It really is fascinating.
I'm already starting to see people in a new light.
That's great.
Yeah, like how they communicate their body language. It's like, I have a superpower.
You do. Yeah. And the best part is, it's a skill that you can keep developing over time. The more you practice, the better you get at reading people, understanding them, and communicating in a way that builds trust.
Yeah, it's like you're learning a new language.
The language of human connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end.
Sad to see it go.
Of our deep dive.
I know, me too.
Into this fascinating world of communication styles.
It really is.
And hopefully you at home have gained some valuable insights.
I hope so too.
And you're feeling inspired to,
put this knowledge into practice.
To put it into practice.
Get it out there.
Remember, it's not about changing who you are.
Okay.
It's about being more aware of how you communicate.
Yeah, and how your behavior is impacting others.
And as you go out into the world, keep those colors in mind.
Yeah, have fun with it.
Yeah. And you might be surprised.
You might be surprised.
At what you discover.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.